So starting with finite and non-finite clauses. All of us that the majority of, I can judge that all the independent clauses are of what? Finite clauses. Finite in which there is a subject and it has the verb and it is normal sentence. You see, it contains a subject as well as a predicate. طبعا we have exceptions in the case of the command in which there is no obvious subject, and in the case of ellipses in which sometimes the predicate is ellipted for some reasons. Okay, what about in contrast to the non-finite? Can be constructed without a subject. This is طبعا, by the way, it is normal for the non-finite to have non-subject, to not have a subject. We have 4 classes for the non-finite, as we have already explained. They are either to infinitive, ing participle, or ed participle, and the verb infinitive. So now we are going to deal with each form or each class of the non-finite with subject and without a subject. Starting with the first one, infinitive with to. You see, because I have an infinitive, bare infinitive without to, and an infinitive with to. So without a subject, the best thing would be to tell everybody. You see, if you look at this sentence, it contains what? It seems to be what? Normal sentence. The best thing is the subject, is the verb, to tell everybody. It is what? It is the subject complement. It is a subject complement in the form of what? Of to infinitive. You see, there is no a subject with this to infinitive clause. With subject, when نقول subject really close to the non-finite clause, not the original sentence, not the main sentence, not the superordinate sentence. With subject, the best thing would be for you to tell everybody. You see, the best thing is the subject would be to the verb phrase for you to tell everybody. هذه كلها is the subject complement for the verb, for the subject, the best thing. But if you look at this subject complement, it is what? This is not finite, but it has what? It has a subject introduced by the preposition for. Just a minute, please. بس نحاول على The other thing is what? The other form, which is you see, if you look at the use of for to introduce the subject, which should be noted. Introducing the subject by force is very important. The infinitive clause with to and with a subject is found characteristically in anticipatory it construction. Now you should remember between anti-it and anticipatory it. They are very it is something different. They are different. It would better for you to tell everybody. Here it is what? It would better for you to tell everybody. It is what? Anticipatory it. هذه it is anticipatory it. The second class, infinitive without to, اللي هو bare infinitive. Bare infinitive. Here يعني infinitive ما عندنا to, it is just the base form of the verb. Without subject, all I did was hit him on the head. All I did was hit him on the head. You see, all I did is the subject, was is the verb, وحد هذا الverb phrase, hit him on the head, it is what? The non-finite clause, the bare infinitive, اللي هي without to. فهذه الهيت مو تكملة was. No, it is the what? A non-finite clause. Function هذا hit him on the head. It is what? Function as the subject complements. With subjects, rather than John do it. Rather than John do it. See? Rather than John do it هذه كلها it is adverbial. But if you look at rather than John do it. John is the subject for the non-finite clause do it اللي هي bare infinitive. I would prefer to give the job to Mary. هذا طبعا it is a superordinate sentence. The third one ing participle اللي هي ing form اللي يسمى present participle without subjects. Leaving the room هذا it is an adverbial. See? Leaving the room without subject. He tripped over the mat. With subjects. Her aunt having left the room. هسه هذه it is the subject. Her aunt is the subject for the ing participle non-finite clause having left the room. I declared my passionate love for Celia. ed participle اللي هو past participle form without subject covered with confusion. I left the room. Covered without subject, there is no an obvious subject here. In contrast with subject, we left the room and went home. هذه simple sentence. I was the job finished. The job finished. Here the job is the subject for the non-finite clause finished. So this is the idea. Keep in mind when I go subject, it is not what this doesn't mean that they are finite. Please pay more attention. If you look at this one, I declared هذه subject and this is finite verb phrase. Finite verb phrase. Like this is her aunt is the subject, having is a non-finite verb phrase. When the subject of adverbial participle clauses is expressed, it is often introduced by with. عندي for وعندي with لكن بالadverbial I use with. With the tree growing هذه ing participle. With the tree grown هذه ed participle. Tall we get more shade. Look at this piece of information, please, students. The normal range of clause type اللي هي, if you remember, we have tackled in the seventh chapter number 7 اللي هو simple sentence is available with active and passive forms broadly in the corresponding finite clause. And by the way, the passivization, whether the voice, it can be applicable to finite and non finite clauses equally. But there is a restriction on the ed participle clauses, which is both syntactically and semantically passive, and therefore admits only the 4 passive clause types. This is the idea in all the forms can be applicable to the clause types that we have tackled in chapter number 7, but except for the cases in which I have the ed participle. You see, SV passive اللي هو intransitive verb. SVC هذا passive اللي هو intensive verb. SVA with obligatory adverbial. SVO, it is what? It is the monotransitive or the ditransitive verb. But here, defeated he slung from the room. Defeated, you see? Defeated. If I want to classify or to give the meaning or the clause type for this non-finite clause, I will say it is SV. هذا S, it is something not something optional. You can say just the past. Past means the active. Passive, sorry. The active form is SVO. يعني هذه الجملة كان أصلها SVO. For example, when I say Ali defeated Ahmed. See, Ali defeated Ahmed. say defeated. defeated يعني من أريد أحول علي defeated أحمد, or for example say what أحمد was defeated. هنا حولتها من الأكتف to passive, لكن بقيتها شنو؟ بقيتها finite. In order to make it not finite, I just take what the ed participle form. So why this one? Because there's something that's already passive. Yeah. Move to what is called structural deficiencies of non-finite clauses. The absence of the finite verb from the non-finite clauses, يعني there is no verb of non-finite clauses, means that they have no distinction of person, of number, of modulo. يعني أعرف non-finite clauses, I do not have that distinction between there is no number, there is no person, first, second, third person, ولا number whether singular or plural, ولا المodal auxiliary. Together with the frequent absence of the subject, this suggests their value as a means of syntactic compression. Certain kinds of non-finite clause are particularly favored in the careful style of written prose. By the way, non-finite clauses, it is normally used with something literary style. Yeah. Where the writer has the leisure to make a virtue out of compactness, something ambiguous, something confusing, or some sort of suspense. What about the advantage of having that compactness of the non-finite verb phrases? For the absence of a subject leaves doubt as to which nearby nominal clause or element is notionally the subject. Look at this one. We met you. We met you leaving the room. We met you leaving the room. هذه أصل الجملة by the way. هذه non-finite in the ing participle. Okay, this is a non-finite by the ing participle. Here without a subject, by the way. It is without a subject. This verb, met you, it is finite clause. Finite verb, or it is what? And it is what? Here, in the form of what? It is what? Complements. We met you when you were leaving the room, or when we were leaving the room. I do not know whether when you were leaving or when we were leaving. This is the idea, and this is the advantage of what of having non-finite clauses. When no referential link with the nominal can be discovered in the linguistic context, an indefinite subject, somebody, something may be inferred of the speaker. To be an administrator is to have the worst job in the world. Here, for a person to be means that it is what having something or somebody may be inferred, or as the I of the speaker. If I want to say to be a teacher is a complex or a complicated job, وهكذا. And for a person to be a teacher, the prospects are not very good, to be honest. See, if I am to be honest, now either for third person, something in general, not for the speaker. Look at the note. We were going to have this note. Let us see what's wrong with it. In negative non-finite clauses, the negative particle is placed immediately before the verb. Okay? It is his fault for not. If I want to negate the non-finite clauses with all things, with all classes, ing, ed, to infinitive, perfinitive, I will put not before the verb in the non-finite clause. say not doing anything. Having doing anything is the non-finite. I put not before it. The wisest policy is not to interfere. هذا non-finite to interfere. I propose or I put not before it. It should be observed that the not precedes the to of the infinitive. The inseparability of to from the infinitive is to be asserted in the widely held opinion that it is bad style to split the infinitive thus rather than. And had something related to the traditional English and the what the linguistic راح نقارن يعني بالtraditional يقول لك don't split the infinitive يعني لا تفرق between the verb and to infinitive, but actually no, you can use it. He was right to suddenly leave. المفروض يشوفون هذا ال question mark. Why? Because at that time it is not acceptable to separate to plus the verb by any item. يعني هذا suddenly المفروض تكون لا. المفروض to leave the country suddenly. Okay? But many people, especially in British, he was wrong to leave the country suddenly. It must be acknowledged, however, that in some cases the split infinitive is the only tolerable order. Since avoiding the split infinitive results in clumsiness or ambiguity. I have tried to consciously stop worrying about them. يعني it is something related to splitting the infinitive between two and the base form. Move to what? To the verb plus. خلينا نسيب.